It started with a group chat I didn't want to be part of. Wedding Bliss 2025. That was the name. Pink hearts, a seashell emoji. My mother had added me without asking. The first message was from my sister, Tessa. Flight. Deals to Bali are disappearing. We need everyone booked by next week. I stared at it while sitting at my small kitchen table, surrounded by unopened bills. My rent was overdue. My car's check engine light had been on for 2 weeks, and here was my family planning a luxury destination wedding. Tessa didn't even have a steady job. Last I checked, she was bouncing between gigs, a food blogger 1 month, an aspiring wellness coach the next. But somehow, she was organizing a wedding that looked like it belonged in a celebrity tabloid. And somehow, she expected me to attend. 3 months earlier, my grandmother had passed. We were never close, but she was the only one in my family who ever treated me like I wasn't invisible. She used to send handwritten letters every birthday, every holiday, even when no one else did. When she passed, I got a short text from my mom. Gran passed peacefully last night. We're handling the estate. That was it. No call. No funeral. Invitation. Just a sterile update, like it was some distant relative and not someone whose name I had embroidered on my childhood quilt. I'd been told, quietly years ago, that Gran had set aside something for me. That she wanted to help you start a new life. I didn't ask for details. I didn't assume much. But I knew there was something meant for me. When the estate settled, I waited. Weeks passed. No word. Finally, I called. Hey, Mom. I was wondering if Gran left anything. Oh, honey, she interrupted. Too fast, too smooth. She didn't really have much. Just some jewelry we passed down to Tessa and, well, you know, sentimental stuff. But she told me she was confused near the end. Let's not hold on to things that aren't there, okay? She said, her voice going cold. That night, I sat in the dark, holding one of Gran's old letters, the one where she wrote, "You deserve to start fresh one day. I've made sure you'll be taken care of when I'm gone." It was signed in her shaky handwriting, the ink faded in places. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just felt the cold bloom of suspicion in my chest. The next day, my cousin Janine sent me a photo from the family group chat I wasn't in. It was a screenshot of my parents in a Bali resort showroom, standing beside Tessa and her fiancé Brandon, posing under a giant floral arch. Janine captioned it, "Looks like your sis is, going all out. Heard your parents are footing the whole thing." I didn't respond. Instead, I pulled out a copy of my old lease agreement, the one Gran had co-signed when I was 20, helping me escape that house for the first time. Tucked in the back, I remembered seeing her lawyer's business card. I'd never used it. Until now. 2 weeks later, I made an appointment with her attorney. The office was quiet, just bookshelves, a firm handshake, and a man in his 60s who still wore cufflinks. He looked up my name in their records. "Oh," he said after a pause. "Yes, your grandmother was very clear." He pulled a folder from a locked cabinet. Inside was a copy of the original will, signed and notarized, and a letter addressed to me. To my granddaughter, the only one who never asked for anything. "This is yours. Use it to build, not beg." The document stated plainly, $75,000 in a trust, released upon her passing, earmarked for education, business, or property investment. Not a word about Tessa, not a cent. I stared at it in disbelief. "You're saying none of this went to me?" I asked. He frowned. "According to our records, the trust was emptied 2 weeks ago. Claimed by a relative under a power of attorney signed the week before your grandmother died." Power of attorney? My blood ran cold. "Signed by who?" He turned the page. I saw the name. I already knew before he said it. My mother. I left the law office that day holding copies of the documents. I didn't cry. Not even when I got in the car, and just sat there for half an hour staring at the steering wheel. I was too numb to feel rage, too hollow to scream. They stole from me. Not just money. Not just inheritance. They stole Gran's voice. Her last gift. To me. And they did it to throw a wedding on a beach, while telling me there was nothing. That night, I RSVP'd no to Tessa's wedding. I didn't explain. I didn't argue. I just started planning something of my own. Not a confrontation. Not a fight. Not a scene. Something smarter. Quieter. Permanent. I didn't go to the bridal shower. Tessa posted enough photos for everyone to know exactly what I missed. Her in a white sundress, our mom beside her in floral chiffon, champagne flutes held high, the caption dripping with passive triumph. Surround yourself with people who believe in your love, even if others choose not to show up. That others was for me. No doubt. What they didn't know was that while they toasted piña coladas and pretended to be one big happy family, I was sitting across from a forensic accountant, Mr. Alden, mid-40s, graying at the temples, not big on small talk. I showed him the trust paperwork and the statement from the law office. He gave a slow nod. "This isn't uncommon. Families do this more than you'd think. But the paper trail, that's where they get sloppy." He opened a file on his laptop. "My guess? Your mother funneled the funds through a joint account, one with her and your sister's names on it. It won't be labeled wedding, but it's there." "How long will it take to trace?" I asked. He looked me straight in the eye. "Depends how much truth you're ready to see." That night, I dug through our old family email threads. I found one from 6 months ago, sent by Tessa, addressed to Mom and Dad, titled, "Wedding Dollar Ideas." If Gran stuff comes through, we could maybe use it to lock in Bali. Brandon's been stressing flights and rooms, and you said the lawyer called again about that account? My hands tightened around the mouse. They planned this. They were already talking about using my inheritance before Gran was even buried. Another email 2 days later from Mom. "Let's not say anything to her until it's finalized. She wouldn't understand. This is for something beautiful. And she's always so emotional." My vision blurred. Emotional? You stole my future and called me emotional? I let a week pass. I kept my distance. Tessa kept posting. Now it was dress, fittings, private beach villas. A video of Brandon proposing again in front of a fake waterfall with her crying into his shoulder. I didn't like Brandon. Never did. Slick smile, frat boy charm, and a career made of networking that never actually involved work. I knew he was cheating 2 years ago. I saw the texts once, never said anything. That wasn't my fight. This one was. The breakthrough came on a Tuesday. Mr. Alden sent a screenshot with the subject. Transfer confirmed, $75,000. The money had been rerouted from the trust 2 weeks after Gran passed. The transfer description read, "Family Event Deposit." From there, It split into 3 separate expenses: a resort in Ubud, luxury travel agency, a custom dress boutique in LA, a boutique I remembered all too well. That dress Tessa had been flaunting in every photo. Silk bodice, open back, hand-beaded. Train, I recognized it, not because she described it to me, because I'd once pointed it out to her years ago while watching a runway show, half joking. She'd laughed and said, "God, you're such a romantic. That dress is for someone who actually gets married." She bought my dream dress with my money. I could have lost my mind. I could have screamed. But I didn't. I did something worse. At the advice of Mr. Alden, I sent an email to the boutique, very polite, very firm. "Hello. I believe a purchase was recently made using misappropriated funds under my trust. I have filed a fraud investigation through my attorney. If you wish to avoid legal implications, please preserve all documentation of the order, made under the name Tessa Langford. I will be issuing a subpoena within the week." No reply, just silence. Until 3 days later. Tessa posted an Instagram story that vanished before I could screenshot it. But Janine sent me a blurry cap. Tessa was in tears. Mascara streaks. Caption: "I can't believe this is happening. Why do people ruin joy?" The dress had been placed on hold. The boutique froze the order. The word fraud had made it through. She hadn't figured out yet that it came from me. But she would. And I wanted her to. The next day, my phone rang. "Why are you doing this?" It was Mom. Her voice wasn't concerned. It was angry, sharp, like I was embarrassing her. "Doing what?" I asked. Dead flat. "You know what? Tessa said the dress order was delayed. And now someone from the resort is asking about a pending legal issue tied to the deposit. What the hell are you trying to pull?" "Just checking where my inheritance went," I said quietly. There was a pause, then she scoffed. "You really think Gran wanted you to waste it on an apartment or a job that'll fail again? She wanted it used for something meaningful. This wedding is for all of us." My chest felt like it cracked. All of us? Or just the daughter you like more? She hung up. I stared at the ceiling that night. The truth wasn't enough. The truth alone doesn't change people like that. They needed consequences. Real ones. Public ones. The kind you don't recover from with a beach wedding hashtag and a champagne toast. So I booked a flight. Not to Bali. To Jakarta, 2 weeks before the wedding. I had one more meeting. With someone who knew how to make a scandal go viral. Fast. I landed in Jakarta just after sunrise. The air was thick with humidity, and even thicker with anticipation. I wasn't there to vacation. I wasn't there to heal. I was there to expose what they'd buried under rose petals and resort bookings one night. Contact met me at a cafe near the old market. Rafi, a freelance investigative content creator who built a following online, turning quiet corruption into viral headlines. I found him through a mutual contact at the law firm. Young, sharp, and just cynical enough to be useful. He shook my hand, then sat down with a smirk. "So, let me get this straight. Your family stole 75 grand from your dead grandmother's trust to throw your sister a destination wedding she's branding like a Hulu series?" I nodded, quietly sliding over the copies of the trust, the transfer records, and the boutique's response. "And you want to go nuclear?" he asked. "No," I replied. "I want to go honest and loud." Over the next week, Rafi helped me gather everything. We cross-referenced timestamps, emails, photos, and spending records with flight dates and social posts. We lined them up against the trust withdrawal receipts and the fraudulent power of attorney document my mother signed while Gran was dying in hospice. Turns out, the signature didn't even match. We uploaded side-by-side samples into a tool that flagged inconsistencies. The looped L in Langford was missing, the spacing off by 2 millimeters. Forgery. Legal consequences were possible, but that wasn't the route I wanted. Not yet. Legal outcomes take years. This wedding? It was happening in 11 days. My justice would be right on time. 3 days before the ceremony, I flew from Jakarta to Ubud and checked into a modest guest house about 20 minutes away from the resort. The staff there didn't know my name, and that's how I wanted it. Meanwhile, Rafi posted the first teaser on his platform, a simple image of a blurry beach wedding setup with the caption, "What would you do if your family stole your inheritance? To pay for this wedding?" New story drops in 48 hours. It gets uglier than the floral arrangements. Within hours, it was trending in Indonesia and being picked up by Western drama accounts. Someone commented, "I swear this feels real. Who funds a wedding with dead grandma money?" Exactly. The night before the wedding, I saw them. From across the street, hidden behind my sunglasses and a shawl, I watched as my mother and father stood outside the luxury villa, sipping cocktails, beside Tessa and Brandon. She was wearing a white silk robe, laughing, radiant. They didn't look guilty. They looked like people who believed they got away with it. A photographer was already snapping pre-wedding portraits. A crew of stylists bustled around them with clipboards. Tessa turned and posed with her ring hand grazing her cheek like she was born to be on the cover of some bridal magazine. I snapped a picture from the shadows. Then I sent it to Rafi with one word. Tomorrow, wedding day. The sun rose golden and cruel. Tessa's Instagram flooded with hashtags. Tess and Bon the beach. From trust fun to true love. Langford legacy wedding, oh, the irony. But by the time guests started arriving at the oceanfront ceremony, all in matching linen, sipping out of fresh coconuts, something started to shift in the air. It started with whispers, then confusion. A bridesmaid ran inside with her phone shaking in her hand. A groomsman pulled Brandon aside with furrowed brows. The wedding planner walked out with her headset still on, speaking rapid Bahasa to someone off-site. Then came the moment, on every phone in every hand, and displayed on the lobby TV at the Bay Resort's reception. Rafi's expose video dropped. Viral title, "They stole her inheritance, so she let the world watch them lie." Thumbnail, Tessa in her wedding robe, smiling. Overlay text, "Stolen trust, fake signature, bridal scam." Below it, "Destination deceit, content. Scans of the original trust, clips of the lawyer confirming the intended beneficiary, side-by-side comparisons of the forged signature, voiceovers quoting the emails from my mother and Tessa about using Gran's money, a breakdown of the spending trail, and finally, footage of the wedding setup with a narrator asking, "Would you still say 'I do' if the price was someone else's future?" Within 20 minutes, the comments exploded. 75K wedding paid by inheritance fraud? She wore her sister's dream dress with stolen money? Not the mom being involved, too. Bridezilla, more like Fraudzilla. From a distance, I watched as the ceremony collapsed in real time. Tessa was in tears, clutching, the now frozen dress in her hands. Brandon stormed down the beach with his phone to his ear, yelling. Guests were leaving. The officiant looked like he wanted to disappear. And my parents? My mother stood frozen near the archway, bouquet in hand, eyes darting around as if searching for the person responsible. She didn't know where I was, but she knew who did it. I never confronted them. Not yet. I didn't want their words. I had something better. Silence and consequence. Because the dress was gone. The vendors started pulling out. The resort issued a public statement. The boutique filed a legal hold. And Tessa, for all her curated hashtags and filtered dreams, had been exposed under the full raw light of day. The beach was empty the next morning. Petals wilted in the sand. The arch was half dismantled, the ribbon unraveling in the wind. A pair of abandoned white heels sat at the edge of the tide like a broken offering to something that never answered. I watched from a distance, hoodie pulled low, sunglasses on, heart numb. There were no guests, no music, no champagne flutes. Just the aftermath of something that was never meant to last. A security guard walked past where the string quartet had once been. His radio crackled. Yeah. Langford party checked out early. Bride left around 4 a.m. with her mom. Looked bad. I already knew. The video Raffi posted had surpassed 1.8 million views overnight. It was everywhere. Twitter, Reddit, bridal forums, Facebook. Groups with names like Toxic Family Recovery and Bride Wars Anonymous. People were dissecting every detail. That handwriting comparison? She forged a dead woman's signature. Why are the prettiest weddings hiding the nastiest betrayals? Mom and daughter both criminally delusional. I'd press charges and send flowers. The sister who exposed this? Icon, silent, deadly. Wait, she got her dream dress stolen too? No jail, just poetic justice. Someone even turned the thumbnail into a meme. Tessa's dream wedding, brought to you by Grandma's grave. By the second day, the boutique officially canceled the dress order. Not just paused, canceled. A statement was released citing ethical concerns and fraud-related investigation. That same afternoon, the resort refunded their deposit, citing unauthorized use of third-party estate funds. Turns out, a viral scandal tied to inheritance theft wasn't good for a wellness retreat brand. I sat in a quiet cafe in Ubud, watching the digital collapse of my family's carefully curated image. That's when I got the email. It wasn't from Tessa. It wasn't from Mom. It was from Brandon. Subject: I didn't know, I know you hate me. I probably deserve that. But your sister told me the money came from a family account. She said it was her grandmother's gift. I never saw the documents until the video. I don't expect forgiveness. But I want you to know. I left. I'm not marrying her. I wired back what I could. You deserve at least that. Brandon attached was a wire transfer confirmation. 64 and 2034, it wasn't everything. It wasn't even close. But it was something. It was the first and only act of decency that came from any of them. By the time I got back to my guest house, my inbox had another email. This one from Janine. Subject line: You're on fire, but Mom's losing it. The body read, just a heads up. Auntie called my mom this morning sobbing. Said she's being harassed by strangers online and her life is ruined. Also, she found out you were behind it. Said you're banned from every future family event. Girl, the audacity. P.S. You're a damn legend. I smiled. 3 nights after what should have been the happiest day of Tessa's life, I got a message from a lawyer back home. A different one. One who'd taken interest after seeing the video. He asked for permission to represent me in challenging the forged power of attorney and filing a claim for full inheritance recovery. Public pressure has its benefits, he said over the phone. Judges don't like liars with spotlight tans. I gave him the go-ahead, quietly, formally. The final moment came when I mailed the letter, handwritten, on floral stationery, no return address, no threats, just a few lines. You told me there was nothing left for me. I just proved otherwise. This is what silence sounds like when it grows teeth. I didn't sign my name. She didn't need it. It didn't take long for them to respond, officially. The lawsuit was filed 2 weeks after the video exploded. The case name printed in black ink, Langford vs. Langford, a trust fraud dispute, civil court, public record, and suddenly, everything they'd done in whispers became a matter of legal fact. My parents, particularly my mother, filed an objection, claiming she'd been acting with best intentions under verbal consent from my grandmother. They didn't deny using the money, they just denied it was wrong. Classic, my lawyer, Mr. Holloway, was methodical, calm. The kind of man who didn't blink even when my mother's attorney said, "It's not uncommon for parents to help their children equally, even if the funds come from one relative." He waited, then dropped the scanned emails on the desk. "Let's not say anything to her until it's finalized. This is for something beautiful. She's always so emotional. Each word like a nail, each signature like a rusted screw coming undone." When they brought up the power of attorney, Holloway handed the judge a forensic handwriting report. A pause. Then the judge lifted her gaze. "Was your mother alert and mentally sound when she signed this?" My mother hesitated. "She was confused near the end. She needed me to help, but you signed for her, as her, not with her present." Silence. And that was it. The courtroom didn't gasp. No slamming gavels, just a weight that fell, slow and final. Outside the courthouse, Tessa waited. Not for me. For Brandon. He never came. She spotted me instead. Her makeup was perfect, but the cracks showed in her eyes, the kind of shimmer not even a highlighter stick could fake. "You ruined everything," she said quietly. I looked at her, calm. "No, you stole everything. I just told the truth." I didn't know about the signature. That was Mom. "You knew where the money came from." She flinched. "We're family." "No," I said, firm and still. "You're a photo. Album I stopped opening. You're a memory I stopped editing to feel better." She blinked, as if I slapped her. But I didn't have to. The court had ruled in my favor. The entire $75,000 was to be returned, plus damages, plus legal fees, in monthly garnished payments from my parents' and sister's future incomes. They wouldn't go to jail, but they would pay, literally, every month, for years. I never had to speak to them again. That night, I stood in front of Gran's old house. It had been sold quietly after her passing, but I stood outside the gate, holding the last letter she ever wrote me. "I hope this helps you begin again." I had. Not in a blaze, not in a breakdown, but in truth, in patience, in the kind of revenge that doesn't scream. It whispers, then echoes forever. 6 months passed. I didn't hear from them. Not Tessa, not my mother, not anyone who once considered themselves my family. except when the bank notification hit my phone, like clockwork. Auto deposit, $1,120.38. Memo, court-mandated restitution, Langford Estate judgment. Every 30 days, their debt to me landed in my account with the same dull regularity as a gym membership or electric bill. But this wasn't power or health. This was reminder. I didn't celebrate. I didn't touch the money. Not yet. Instead, I moved in silence. The first thing I did was donate a portion of the recovered funds to a senior care organization. The same, one that had cared for Gran in her final days, even after my mother stopped visiting. They sent me a thank you note and planted a tree in her name. I printed the certificate, framed it, hung it in my new apartment. The apartment was mine now, bought with savings and part of the judgment settlement. A little 2-bedroom place in the city with creaky floors and warm light. A space that didn't smell like staged perfection or carry the weight of someone else's dreams. The second room was filled with plants and sunlight and something that almost felt like forgiveness, but not for them. For me, Tessa tried to go quiet online for a while, deleted the wedding hashtag, turned off comments, rebranded her page from Our Bride Bliss, Tessa to Balanced by Tessa, claimed to be on a healing journey. She even posted once. Sometimes the people closest to you hurt you the most, but we rise. No mention of the trust fund, no mention of the fake signature, just vague quotes about energy and growth and choosing peace. I didn't comment. I didn't watch her stories. I didn't need to. She already knew who made her famous. One evening, Janine called me. "Hey," she said. "Just wanted to say, the family reunion's happening next month. They're pretending like you just drifted, like none of it happened." "Are you going?" I asked. "Only if you are." I smiled. "Then they won't see either of us." She laughed softly. "You good?" "I'm better than I've ever been." 1 week later, I received a card in the mail. Thick cream paper, gold foil letters, no return address. It was a wedding invitation to Tessa and Brandon. Again. Apparently, she'd salvaged something. Or someone. Inside was a handwritten note. "We hope with time we can put all this behind us. You're still my sister. No apology, no acknowledgement, just expectation." I didn't reply, didn't attend, didn't open the second envelope that came with it, a registry link. I just added the card to a drawer I labeled Lessons, then closed it. Instead, I wrote something else, a final letter. Not to Tessa, not to Mom, not even to Brandon, but to myself, dated the day Gran died. You were never invisible. They just refused to see you. You were never the problem. You were the mirror they hated looking into. You were never too emotional. You were just the one who refused to lie. And when they built a wedding out of your silence, you took it back one piece at a time. You are not the villain. You are the page turner. The box arrived in early spring, plain. No return label. Just my name in thick cursive. The kind that told you the writer learned to form letters on lined paper long before digital fonts were ever invented. At first, I thought it was another cruel joke, maybe from Tessa, another twisted attempt at closure wrapped in guilt. But when I opened it and saw the handwriting on the envelope inside, my breath caught. It was Gran's. A letter. Unopened. Unsent. The corner of the page was yellowed slightly, like it had been waiting somewhere for a long time, taped to the inside. Of the box was a small note from a hospice nurse. Found this in a keepsake drawer while going through final belongings. She asked me to mail it, but I never had a name. Saw your story online. Hope it finds its way home. My hands shook as I sat down to read. My sweet girl. If you're reading this, then I'm gone. And I'm sorry I didn't get to say goodbye properly. The body fades before the heart does, and sometimes words stick in the throat, even when love doesn't. I want you to know I saw everything. How hard you worked. How gently you carried the weight no one else seemed to notice. You were never invisible to me. The money was never about money. It was my way of saying, I believe in you. I always have. Whether you used it for a house, a business, or to leave everything behind, it was yours. Not because you needed it, but because you earned it. And if somehow they take it from you, I know you'll find your way back to yourself. You always do love louder than they lie. Leave when they don't apologize. Return only if it brings peace. You were never like them. That's the gift. Gran, I sat with that letter for a long time. No tears this time. Just warmth. Not fire. Not rage. Something quieter. Resolution. Later that month, I took the rest of the money, what remained after the court-ordered payments and what Brandon had wired back, and I invested it, not in stocks, not in revenge, in a small space on the Ball, edge of the city, a cafe, bookstore, and women's workspace all in one. I named it Legacy and Light. In the window, I placed a framed photo of Gran. She was holding a teacup and wearing that lopsided smile she always gave me when she knew I wasn't telling the full truth. But let me get away with it anyway. Underneath it, a plaque read, "For the quiet ones, the honest ones, the ones who remember what was stolen, and build anyway." 1 year later, I had no plans to celebrate the date, but it marked something. Not quite an anniversary, not quite a win, just the quiet closing of a long, jagged chapter. Legacy and Light had grown beyond what I imagined. We had a rotation of local authors doing readings, quiet music in the afternoons, shelves filled with books written by women who had walked through fire and learned to keep walking. People came in saying they heard about it online. Some whispered, some smiled. A few nodded like they already knew the story behind the name, and one morning, Tessa walked in. I saw her before she saw me. No longer sun-kissed and manicured, no lashes, no gloss. Just tired eyes, a tote bag clutched to her chest, and an expression that fell somewhere between guilt and hunger. She stood at the edge of the cafe, unsure. Then her gaze found mine. I didn't move. I didn't wave. I just met her stare. She walked over slowly. "I read Gran's letter," she said. I nodded. "I'm glad. She loved you more than I thought." "No," I replied. "She just saw who I was when no one else wanted to." A pause. Then Tessa reached into her bag and pulled out a journal. It was old, worn. Gran's initials were stitched on the corner. "I found this in Mom's attic, after the fallout. I thought you should have it." I hesitated. It felt too late for heirlooms, too late for olive branches. But I took it. Not for her. For me. She lingered. "I just wanted to say, I'm sorry." I nodded again. "That's good. She blinked. That's it? That's all there is, I said. You don't get to fix what you broke just because you finally noticed the cracks. She swallowed. Do you ever think we'll be okay again? I met her gaze. No, but I think we'll both survive that. She left without coffee. Didn't look back. I tucked the journal onto the shelf behind the counter. Not for display. Not for legacy. Just to know it was with me. A week later, I stood in the back office of the cafe, lights low, and took one final look at the old court documents. The trust paperwork, the emails, the bank statements, the memes. Then I slid them into a manila folder. Labeled it, closed, put it in the filing cabinet, locked the drawer, and didn't look back.